Everyone, and welcome to episode 562 of the MTGGoldfish podcast. I'm Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have this small crew here this week. Krim's traveling. He's over in Korea. Richard, he's also traveling, but he's joining us from the middle of the night over in China. Good evening, Richard. How are things?
Good morning. The day has crossed over for me, Seth. I'm in the future. It's actually 12:30 a.m.
It's almost exactly the opposite then, because it's like 11:30 a.m. here. So you're like half a day ahead of me. But yes, we have some fun stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk first impressions of Avatar. We both got to play some early access last week, and I got some thoughts about this. I want to talk a little bit about the design of the set, some of the things I liked about it. Then we got new promos. We got some Spider-Man news, some questions about Brawl. Might talk a little bit about pre-modern, and then answer some fish mail questions. So Avatar, new standard, jumping around a little bit. Before we get to all that, a reminder that we got a couple of sponsors today. Our show's brought to you by Card Conduit, the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. If you ever get tired of the hassles of buy listing, you can skip them with Card Conduit. You can use their curated service where you send in as many cards as you want with a buy list value of $1 or more and pay just a 5% service fee. And if you want to do a bit of work, you can use a sorted service where you list and sort your cards in advance and pay just a 2% fee. Either way, you're going to get a detailed report with the results and a fast payment once your order is processed. And you can even get another 10% off by heading over to cardconduit.com/MTGGoldfish. Card Conduit, it's the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. Our show is also brought to you by Heavy Play, advanced gaming equipment. The RFG Deckbox Max features a clear window to showcase your commander while protecting your deck. Available in 3 different sizes to fit all your decks, including your standard and commander decks. The Equip Mag system lets you attach an optional dice box and even multiple decks together. And you can head over to heavyplay.com/MTGGoldfish or use the code MTGGoldfish at checkout to save 10% off. So thank you to our sponsors for supporting the show. And let's talk some Magic, and let's start with Avatar. So Richard, I know you played some early access because I actually ran into you at one point. I think you're in today's budget Magic, getting smacked by my Is It Lesson deck.
I didn't even do anything that game.
You actually did not do anything that game, which I for a minute I was like, is he throwing this? Does he know I'm recording and he's just throwing the match? I was like, hopefully he's just running really poorly. So I know you're playing Firebending. What do you think of Firebending? What do you think of Avatar?
Firebending's broken. I'm gonna go with that. When it works, it's disgusting. So, you can turn 3 or turn 4 kill people, no problem. The problem is the plan B of the deck doesn't exist, right? So all good decks have a good plan B. I'm gonna need a better deck builder to build that. But I was playing, what's the 2-drop? Firebending Master
Firebending Student.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
Firebending Student, which firebends its power, right? So you can, it's a 1/3 prowess, so you can wild ride it on turn 3, make it a 5 power attacker, and then attack immediately, get 5 red mana, play Great Train Heist, which is the red spree card for 4 mana, get an extra combat, right? You can, since you have 5 mana, you have 1 mana spare, you can throw in the +2/+2 trample card, untap, get another combat, double the power, finish the job. Super easy. You Slick Shot Show Off as the backup. If you don't have either of those cards, you do absolutely nothing, which is what you saw when I played you, Seth. It was a little awkward. I'm like, I don't have any of these cards. So I don't know, but if there's a shell for this, it is insanely powerful, right? Because I played games where I just dirtled around. I didn't get the pieces. Turn 6 or 7, my opponent taps out. I'm like, you're dead.
Nope.
Right? I'm like, I
Got
just
him.
combo you and you're dead, right? And otherwise, they're holding up removal the whole game. My ultimate build so far is I'm playing the 1-drop Firebending guy. It's like a 1/1. You firebend
You need a
2
lesson,
if
right?
you have a
Or
lesson.
no?
Yes.
Ooh, what lesson are you playing?
So
Are you a believer
after
now?
mocking lessons the whole time, I ended up on a lesson build because Octopus Form is like
right.
like a dive down. It's a blossoming defense type card. It's a lesson though. It's blue. And then also the shock for a creature is sufficient. Like I found
Good
that
enough.
I didn't need burst lightning. Like you were dying. Like I didn't need the 4 damage. Like I was doubling power and stuff like that. So I actually play those 8 lessons and go with the firebending 1-drop, which is still broken. Because if you get to attack with it, 2 extra mana, like Slick Shot Show Off, plus the 2 extra mana is like game, right? So I think firebending's legit. If there's a legit plan B, the amount of mana you produce is not allowed.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
if you can make
I
any kind of like reasonable shell, we should be able to break it. And because we have specifically the extra combat heist, which doubles your firebending, right? So like on turn 3, I'm producing like 12 extra red mana instant speed. That's like VV levels, right? So
that's
we'll
insane,
see what
yeah.
the pros cook up, right? But I think if you can get a decent plan B, which probably involves like, is it maybe some otters or something, something like that, or maybe just more like ops or something for consistency. You can get there. That was my takeaway.
Could you imagine if they didn't ban VV? Because VV also works with Wild Ride. There would probably be an absolutely insane firebending VV deck. So I'm glad VV's gone. I'm curious. So I played a little firebending too. I intentionally avoided playing what I thought was probably the best version, which was the super aggro kill on turn 3 version, and I was trying to play some of the bigger like 4 drops and 5 drops and see how it felt. I also had Great Train Heist, and I came away from it feeling like the mechanic's super explosive, but at least the builds I played, some of those cards like Great Train Heist felt a little inconsistent. Like when I can stick a couple creatures and like attack, they felt insane. But then also when things go bad and my opponent kills a couple things and I top deck it, it felt kind of bad. What do you think about like, is consistency too much of an issue? Or is that what the backup plan is to take care of, is like adding consistency to the deck?
I don't know. It's infect. We just
Yeah,
don't
I
have ink
guess you
moth
just do it.
nexus, right? Like yeah, when your one thing dies, so when the firebending student and slick shot show up, like slick shot show up, I think really makes it right because you can like queue them up and like really go for the win. And if people are not applying pressure to you, you can like wait like 5-6 turns and kill one shot them still, right? Like you're still a combo deck. But yeah, if you can't protect it, you lose. Which is why I think you got to play blue. Right? You gotta. I initially started with spell pierce, but that was kind of meh. People actually just paid through the spell pierce, so it didn't work. So I think octopus form, uh, is key. But you can go green, I guess, and like maybe do the Tifa backup. I don't know if that's necessary,
Yeah.
but you also have green protection as well. But I find just octopus form. You can also. Oh, set this time to podcast. I also like you do the early octopus form to see if the opponent responds, and then you can do a second one if you need to. But then that turns on the one drop firebending guy too,
Oh,
and then you
right.
can like go to town. So I don't know. I'm actually curious because it could just be like Tifa Landfall. Like obviously, if you play Tifa Landfall and you had the nuts, you're like, who can compete with this, right? I just like quadrupled my power in one turn. But all the other games, you just don't get there because your opponent like interacts with you. If someone's holding like 4 lightning bolt type effects, you're never getting there, right? So we'll see if there's a good plan B. All good decks in Magic the Gathering have a good plan B. Like Vivi, you don't even need the Cauldron, you don't even need the Vivi, right? So if we can get there, or maybe just value, like maybe you just play a control deck and just use your fire bending things to like draw cards at instant speed. I don't know, but I think
That
Wizards screwed it up with the extra mana. There's no way this amount of extra mana should be legal. So we'll see if we can put it to good use. And I think we can.
It's so funny that you mentioned that. So I want to talk about lessons in a minute, but speaking of messing things up, I thought firebending looked very powerful, and I think you're right that there's probably a good firebending deck out there that people can figure out. The mechanic that I came away from early access feeling like, oh my god, Wizards might have messed this up, was actually airbending. I don't know if you ran into any of the airbending like combo decks where you can play Doc Arlock as the Simic 2-drop that makes anything you cast from exile cost 2 less. So then you can cast any of your own cards that you airbend for free, and then you can use the new Appa, which airbends any number of non-land permanents to just airbend all your stuff. And when you cast something from exile with Appa out, you make a 1/1 ally token, and then any other airbending card, like the 3-mana Aang that airbends or Airbender Ascension, just lets you go infinite. You airbend the Appa, then you recast it and make the token, then you airbend the other spell to get the Appa back in exile and just keep looping them. Did you run any of those shenanigans? Because I came away from that feeling like, oh my god, we have another like turn 4 combo deck, and it mostly involves good cards. It's not like the dock is a little bad, but Appa's good, Aang's good. Like you're playing cards that are fine, fair cards anyway, which kind of gives that backup plan you were talking about, where you have the option to go infinite, kind of like Splinter Twin, where you can like go infinite, but you can also just play like these efficient flash creatures and disrupt your opponent and win like a real deck. But did you see any of those shenanigans?
No, but that sounds terrifying. I did see a lot of like Aang and stuff like that, but it's also a combo deck that doesn't win immediately, and it's like just doing things and doing stuff, and it keeps going, and you can't scoop. That sounds bad. I
It
don't
is.
want like another Nadu type situation.
Oh, oh yeah.
Um,
It is
so
very
hopefully
loopy.
that's not a thing.
Yeah,
But
I'm curious. Well,
airbending seems good. Earthbending seemed good. Um, what's the other mechanic? Waterbending.
waterbending.
I didn't really see any waterbending at
Yeah,
all.
that's the
I
one I'm
saw a
most
bunch of
TBD
lesson
on.
decks. You were not the only one trying it.
Yeah,
They looked
I
fine. They didn't look terrible.
I'm a believer. I played for Budget Magic today a 0 rare lesson deck, and even that was functional. So I imagine once you start upping the rare count, upping the budget a little bit, it's even better. But I think the reward is good enough. Like accumulate wisdom kind of actually is the truth. And I think as you kind of realize, like the burst lightning effect actually is kind of fine. Combustion technique with a bunch of lessons is actually kind of fine. So it's actually not that hard to play enough good lessons to support accumulated wisdom. So I'm pretty high on the lesson deck. Also, I found out that Gran is actually kind of insane. There's a card I almost didn't even play in the deck. It's just this 1-drop 1/2 that loots when it becomes tapped, and then once you get 3 lessons, make your 9-creature spells cost 1 less. But it's so good in the lesson deck because it gets your lessons in the graveyard. It gives you something to do on turn 1. So I actually think lessons might be really powerful. As far as standalone cards, maybe the single card that impressed me the most, and I didn't even play with this card, I just played against it a ton. I think Badger Mole Cub might actually be kind of insane. Like some of the starts people got off to with Badger Mole Cub, Earthbending a land, and then playing Llanowar Elves and other mana dorks. Just these huge, like, dump your hand on turn 3 with just so much mana. Did any cards stick out to you, Richard? What do you think of Badger Mole Cub? Any other, like, standout cards that you noticed?
Patrimonial Cub is very good, except it dies to shock.
Yes, it
Like,
is
because
disruptible.
people specifically, if we play the lessons that do 2 damage, right? Then being a 3/3 is like huge, right? But it's again one of those cards like, did you have removal from my cub? Otherwise, you're kind of dead.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. I saw allies.
Oh, yeah. Do
It
you think
kind
they're
of worked.
legit?
I don't know, but I got rolled by it. Does that count? I mean,
It's
I I also saw a flyer deck, which I was like, oh my goodness, like they were playing like the Momo, and
yeah.
then there's the two drop enchantment that like basically just anthems your flyers, and they built a board quite quickly and destroyed me while I was like, really? I'm dying to birds over here?
That's
Like it really happened, and it was disgustingly quick. I was like, oh, this is where we are, huh?
I'm planning on building some version of that for Budget Magic because it reminds me of the old Favorable Winds decks from like 10 years ago, which was like a
Yes.
similar anthem. It reminds me of that I played against someone who mashed that enchantment in the flying plan with Momo, and one of the Momos, like when it leaves the battlefield, it triggers to like scry or like make a food, but they mixed it together with like the self bounce stuff. So it had like Nurturing Pixie, Sun Peril Kieran, because you can pick up the enchantment to make another clue, and it looked really cool. So I think there's actually some interesting possibilities with like a Flyers deck. Allies. I was playing Allies a bit. I played against Allies a bunch. It seemed like everyone wanted to try Allies. They seemed incredibly explosive, but I still have this catch that it was during early access day. And when I think early access day, I think of decks that are typically way lighter on removal than you're running into during like full standard. So if you can actually just like dump your hand of allies and like play a Great Divide Guide, you can pop off incredibly hard. But I still wonder, like, is this going to happen in like full best of 3 standard, or was that just like kind of taking advantage of the fact that people don't play enough removal on early access day?
We end the format right here, Seth, and we
Yes,
move on to Star
we've
Trek.
reached the peak. Yeah.
What a great format, wide variety of decks.
uh,
Yeah, I mean, that's called casual magic. That's why casual magic is the best. It's before everyone gets sweaty and optimizes the fun out of it, right?
yeah, yeah, that is true. Did you do any drafting or no? I'm just out of curiosity. I didn't do any
Mhm.
drafts yet, but what do you think of the limited format for the limited lovers out there?
Ooh, ooh, I got destroyed during limited,
Ooh.
and usually when that happens, I think the set is very bad. Right?
When you
Because that
lose, it's a
means
bad
like
set.
not because I feel like fire bending and water bending aren't even mechanics, right? And like there are packs where you're just like, I'm getting absolutely nothing.
Mm,
And I'm worried it's one of those formats where there's one or two colors or mechanics that are obscenely strong, and then the rest are kind of like, man, like if you get a firebending rare, you're like, I can't do anything with this, right? You get like a commander card, you're like, I can't do anything with this. Like Sozin's Comet or whatever, I can't do anything with this, right? So I felt a lot of that was happening, and I could not draft a functional deck in my open colors. And granted, I don't know what I'm doing. No one knew what they were doing.
mm.
So asterisks, right? But usually when that happens, that typically means the cards are not powerful enough across the different colors, right? So that you can't obviously be like, oh yeah, I take this and it works. And I don't see it being like I don't see what card I would get to make my firebending do something useful. Like like I feel like I'm not missing something. So we'll see how it shakes out. But I'm afraid we don't have like full decks in all the archetypes, and that's usually a big problem for limited. Like
Interesting.
firebending, I could not get to work at like firebending did nothing for me. And the best firebenders were like the ones with the payoff, like Azula, that like you firebend, you make a clue, you could crack it right away. Like yeah, that makes sense, right? Just draw a card on attack, right? But the,
I
the mechanic itself was kind of meh.
I wonder if part of that too is like maybe it's partly firebending. I feel like firebending out all the mechanics from the set, like earthbending, you could play kind of generically, right? Just any deck, you
Earthbending
get
is
an
good.
extra body on the battlefield. Waterbending, I guess you could play in any deck that like spews a bunch of stuff or makes a bunch of mana.
Ain't no
No.
ain't no one tapping all your creatures to cast something. Like
Yeah.
like I'm sure
Okay,
there's some
yeah.
way to do it with clues and stuff like that, right? Also, the draw two mechanic was like super inconsistent. Like you can't always draw two. I watched someone play the Delver card and then proceeded to
Yeah.
not draw two, and I'm like, great. I'm like, that would have been very scary, but it's not, and then just like destroy them, right? And
Yeah.
so I don't know, like these mechanics are very hard to make use of. So I'm curious, once the drafters really get a foothold on things, like, is there a special card that we can draft to like make it all work? But
Yeah.
like, you can't water bend like big numbers. Like you can't just tap all your stuff in limited. You're gonna die, right?
It is. Yeah, that's a good point. It'll be interesting to see because I feel like part of the reason I love firebending and constructed is it does feel like oddly open-ended, right? There's a timing restriction, but it's just mana, and you should be able to figure out a way to make mana, but maybe that is actually gonna be a hindrance in limited where, like, you make all this mana, but unless you get a very specific card, like, in your draft, you're not gonna have anything to do with it, and then it kinda all goes to waste anyway, so
If mana burn was a thing, Seth, I would have died like every game. So much wasted mana in limited. I was
Uh,
riding the high of constructed firebending, so I was picking
yeah.
them like but no, don't do that. But yeah, you didn't do pre-release. I didn't do pre-release either because I was traveling. But
Yeah.
interesting. They have what do you call them? Seeded packs. So you get to choose your color, and you get one of the rares from that. And I think that added a interesting twist. So there are colors that you'll want to choose for the rare, and then also just you might be biased. You might be biased towards black or red or something because you get lightning strike or whatever. But I think that makes a very interesting difference compared to normal sealed. So yeah,
So
Avatar had seeded packs.
so with the seeded pack, you get a rare, and then do you get cards that, like, synergize with that rare or in the same colors? Is that the idea?
You
Interesting.
get a specific rare, and then you get cards of that color. So I did like 2 or 3 of them, and then I chose, like, Azula because 'cause I'm like, Azula is just, like, the best in a vacuum, but then I also later on switched to red. I think it was Zuko because you can get lightning strikes. I'm like, "Yeah, I want lightning strikes," right? Like, you just want, like, the specific colors and archetypes. So I think that's kinda nice and that kind of I don't even know what it does. I feel like we're not really having a war or anything, right? Like, like if you were doing like guilds or something, like you're like, oh, I'm doing all the guilds, right? But I guess here everyone can attack the Fire Nation. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
they're the bad guys.
but like I was supposed to give you that feel, right? You're like, yeah, I want Zuko, I want Azula, right? Like, yeah, let's go, right?
It's interesting that you mentioned that because I over the weekend I turned on Hearthstone for the first time in forever, and I was like, I'm gonna do an arena run, which is like their form of limited, and I haven't played an arena on Hearthstone in like a couple of years now, and apparently they revamped how their drafts work, and what they did is they make it so when you first get into the draft, you get to choose one of three legends, I think, whatever their mythics are. Like you get one mythic, but whatever you choose comes along with 3 to 5 cards that synergize with it in some way. So instead of just like getting this one high rarity card, you get this like package of cards that go with it. And that ends up being like 10% of your deck or something. And then you just draft normally from there and fill out the rest of your deck. I wonder if we could do that. Like, do you think that would make limited better? I think the idea was to make it more
Oh, I
accessible,
hate
right?
it
If you're
actually.
brand new to this, like we're going to give you like a chunk of a deck here, and then you just put more cards with it that work with those cards, and you'll end up with something playable. But do you think that would water down the Magic experience too much if we went that direction, or would it help get new players into drafting?
I think it waters it down, but also logistically, you have a problem. So, I'm gonna guess is how it works in like paper. Like you get a pre-release kit for 10 players, you would get 2 of each color,
Mm.
right? So, and then everyone will know that like red is the best color or something. So like you want to choose red, right? And then someone's gonna be like, yeah, well, I guess I'll take white or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
like it makes that
Yeah.
weird choosing dynamic, which I think is bad, right? Because you want to be, I don't know, like, if you don't know what the good colors are, like, you're immediately screwed, but then also, if you know what the good colors are, do you take them away from the new players and, like, really drive them into the ground? Or, like, are you forced to give it up and, take the weaker like, it just adds this, like, strange
Yeah.
dynamic, which I don't think we really need, and we don't really need everyone picking red online or something if that's the best color, so I think I just like normal,
Yeah.
regular sealed. We have Jumpstart for, like, that kinda stuff though, right?
I
But,
guess
like, Jumpstart's
Jumpstart's
not
like
that
that.
popular, right? So, I
No.
don't know.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, well, it's cool to see him trying the seeded pack thing. Anyway, that's early access, first impressions of Avatar. I want to mention about Avatar the set, because I've been thinking a lot about this set, because if you remember, last set we got was Spider-Man, and I was pretty harsh on Spider-Man. I really did not like the Spider-Man set. And some of my criticism, there's a bunch of criticism of the set, but one of the things I really disliked about Spider-Man was having like 40 spider people. It just felt like so confusing and overwhelming. But I feel like in Avatar, they still put in multiple versions of characters, but I kind of feel like they did it right, if that makes sense. I don't, at least in some cases. Like for me, the best example of this, and maybe I'm just biased because I watched Avatar recently, so I like know the lore a little bit. But when I see there's 4 Aangs, right? The main character from Avatar in the main set. And it kind of makes perfect sense to me. You start with this like mono white uncommon Aang that's Aang like the fresh character, this little kid. And then you see Aang essentially like gain these different bending abilities. Like then you get this rare 3 mana Aang that has water bending now. Then you get the 5 mana Bant Aang that has earth bending on it. And then finally you Avatar Aang that has fire bending and has all the colors. To me, that like seems to represent the show, and it's logical, and they each have like their own abilities that kind of make sense to make it less confusing. Like you can just say earthbending Aang, and I know what that means. When if you said the Spider-Man that ramps or something, I would have no idea what you're saying. But do you feel like this is the way to do multiple characters, right, Richard? Like, you've watched the show recently too? Like, did you come away from it feeling
What
that
a
way,
day.
or no?
What a day to have Krim missing. We need a Spider-Man smackdown here. That's lore diff, Seth. So, here's problem 1, right? You think Scarlet Spider and Spider-Man are the same people. They're not.
Yes. Okay.
Even though they literally are because they're clones of each other, but they're actually just distinct characters. That's like me saying, there are all these Fire Nation people. There's like 60 Fire Nation people, and they're all the same. They all shoot fire, right? And then, so all the, Spider-Man 2099 is not Peter Parker Spider-Man, is not Peter Porker, is not Scarlet Spider, right? They just all have the Spider name, right? Just like all the, I don't know, it's like Fire Nation something, right? The second part is you can distinguish the Angs. I'm sure Krim can distinguish the Spider-Mans. right? This is
Yeah.
Spider-Man, blah blah. You know when Krim always goes off on some like random tangent, we're like, yeah, sure, Krim, right,
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
right? That's what you
Scrim.
just did. You're like, oh, this was Katara after the
So,
blood bending, and this was,
so you think
that's because you watched the whole thing and
it's
you know
because I
everything
watched the
about it,
show.
right?
Okay, so it's just you think it's just that I watched the show. That I mean, I think that's could be
I
true.
think the
That
the
could be
real
true.
point is though, like the four Angs are mechanically interesting, whereas the four Spider-Men were not, right? So we don't care. You know what I mean? Like you're like, the mechanics are not interesting, the cards aren't interesting, therefore, the lore didn't help. Whereas the Angs are all kind of interesting, so like we like them more, right? And it shows more of a progression. I don't know.
Yeah,
I do
that
think there is a difference, right? But I don't think the difference is because the cards didn't match. I think it's because the cards suck, and then once the cards suck, we don't we don't give them anything. But I'm sure Krim can tell you which comic, which arc of each Spider-Man was depicted in each one, and like tell you everything about
I
them in the same way you can for Avatar.
I wish Krim was here today because one of the questions I have, and he would be the best person to answer this. But when I look at like the Spider-Man set compared to the Avatar set, I feel, and maybe this is just my ignorance of Spider-Man, but when I look at Spider-Woman Sunning Savior, the one that like taps down your opponent's artifact and creatures, and then I look at Spider-Man 2099, I'm kind of like, couldn't I just swap? Like, is there a reason that Spider-Woman taps stuff down, or that Spider-Man 2099 you can't cast for a couple turns? I feel like I could just swap the text boxes on any of the Spider people, and it would still be just the same. Is that just my ignorance of Spider-Man lore? Or do you feel like that at all? Because it feels like the abilities aren't necessarily attached to the character in any way, and it's just like a random ability on something that happens to be a spider. When the Angs feel like they
Yes,
all do attach to the character in some way.
I would agree with you. I'm not sure why Scarlet Spider does what he does.
Okay.
I it's not as clear to me because they don't have the quote unquote signature move. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
could give Zuko anything and you throw Firebang at him. You're like, yes,
Ah, yeah,
flavorful.
it's
You know what I
flavorful, right?
mean?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, what is Spider-Man's signature move? And you're like, web shooters, or you're like, "Yeah, yeah," like it's not as like a
And
thing. So I I
yeah.
I I I agree with that, right? It's not as easy, but like something like Wolverine, where you're like, oh, regenerate, he regenerates. Like that kind of stuff is very easy to get. But I have faith in Krim. I think my boy Krim could tell you the
I'm sh-
rationale behind some of these
I'm sure
abilities, but I
I'm
don't
sure he
think they're as
could.
iconic. I think that's the difference, right? But like, why does I don't know Aang have Flash in the airbend? I don't know. He just has Flash, but he has airbending on him, so it's cool, right? Like
Yeah.
why does he fly? Well, he has the glider. It's like so obvious, right? So I don't know. Is that
That's true.
I
And I
I I
think
feel Final Fantasy did a great job with that, and I can actually, like, list you all the things, whereas Airbender is not as bad. Remember Stranger Things?
mhm.
And then, what was it, 7? What was I don't I forgot her name.
7, yeah.
Was it
It was
7?
7. I think it
And
was
then her
7.
her card just had 7 all over the place, and
Yeah.
you're like, "What is this? This had nothing to do with anything." And it's like, I got saffron olive to put flavor on this,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's
I
not to that level, but it's kind of that, like, super obvious looking things for Avatar,
yeah,
but
that's true.
I don't know, but I do like the different versions make sense because the characters all go through this progression in the series, so, yeah.
It seems
I
yeah,
do
and
think they did it a lot better than Spider-Man.
and I think Spider-Man also would probably be challenging. Like you mentioned, like, even if there is a signature move, how do you do that for 30 cards or whatever? You can't just have them all have the same signature move, which I think also would probably be a bit of a challenge, because even if they're different, they all kind of do somewhat the same thing. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. What do you think now that you've played with Avatar? Is it close to Final Fantasy as far as, like, just how well made the set is, like as far as it lining up with its IP, the mechanics, like the whole picture. Like, do you rank it on that tier? Like, I think of Final Fantasy and Lord of the Rings as like the two top tier UB sets. Like, is Avatar in that same group for you?
Not really.
No.
I mean, so I watched all of Avatar, and we were just talking about this off cast, but I think it's, like, alright, right? Like, dude, I enjoyed it, and I'm glad I watched it, but only because there's a Magic the Gathering Avatar set. If there was not a Magic the Gathering Avatar set, I would not watch it, and I would not recommend it to other people. So It's all right. And because
Yeah.
of that, I don't have that same love for the cards. I'm not like, oh yes, the Sokka card. Yeah, I love Sokka. It's like fine, right? I'm like, oh Katara, I'm like,
Yeah.
it's like it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, actually, the one thing I took away from this is the most beloved characters have the worst cards. When I look at the set, and I'm like, what are the best, what are the best cards in the set, right? I'm like, maybe a firebending student.
Yeah.
That's not even a person,
Yeah.
right? That's just a generic thing. Badger Mole Cub,
Yeah.
like,
Who was that?
like that's not a named character. Wang
Wan Shi
Shi
Tong. Yeah, it
Tang
was and like
Tong, the
w-
librarian. I can't believe you forgot who that was. That was a very big part of the story. But again, like it's just a random side character that showed
yeah,
up for
one
like
episode,
10
half an
minutes an
episode.
episode.
Yeah.
And like the good characters, I'm like, well, they're like 6-drop legendaries, whatever. Can't play them, and I'm like, I'd rather have that 2-drop be Zuko. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather have that green Badger Mole be Toph, right? But they're not. So it's weird that we're gonna end up playing with these non-named characters. So
It is
yeah.
it is
So
kinda
that's my takeaway from this. I'm like, where's my Sokka card? Like I'm not gonna play with him, right? So
yeah, it is weird to see that a lot of the biggest characters are not on the best cards, and a lot of the best cards are attached to side characters or even unnamed characters. But yeah, interesting. Anyway, I wanted to ask you, we were talking about Spider-Man a little bit. I've been thinking about Spider-Man, not the set wise, but just like I don't know if you've noticed the last week or so, there's been some Reddit posts, some stuff on social media showing pictures of just like I think it's Micro Center that just has this huge wall of unsold Spider-Man product, or there's been some flash sales. I know collector boxes now are down, TCG down to under 400, and we've seen some sales where they drop down to like 325 or something, like a huge markdown. So clearly, Spider-Man, the sales have been not it doesn't seem that great from LGSs and vendors to players. But we know Wizards thinks of this as a success because they talked about it. And I was thinking about this, and I feel like Spider-Man's this rare example. And I know how many people understand like how the system works, but I feel like it's an example of a set that's like a huge success and a huge flop at the same time because of how Magic cards are actually sold, and the fact that like when Wizards announces a set and they do those super early spoilers, and I used to scoff at those super early spoilers and be like, oh, yeah, 6 months early, why do we need these? But Wizards said, well, these are for vendors, right? So they can know how much of the set to order. They get this little taste of the set before they place their orders. So the local game stores order a set before it's even previewed and pay for the set. Like all that money goes to Wizards. So really, when it comes down to it, when you see all this Spider-Man product being marked down or sitting on a shelf unsold, that doesn't really affect Wizards' immediate bottom line at all. They already sold all those boxes. They were paid for months ago, back before we even saw spoilers for the set. So I feel like that's how you can have a set that is hugely successful because Wizards sold a ton of boxes when people ordered them before the set released, but now is being marked down and not selling super well to players. What do you make of that, Richard? Like, can a set both be like a success and a failure at the same time? And if there is a bit of failure here, as we see Spider-Man, prices dropping and sitting on shelves, that has to affect Wizards eventually, right? Sooner or later, that has to filter into your system and have some negative impacts, or no?
nah.
It doesn't matter.
Do you know how WotC works? So okay, so the case you presented could be an option, but there are other alternate realities. But even in the case you presented, Wizards forces you to buy bad products so that you get good products, right? So we know of like, Born of the Gods, whatever, small sets, etc. Like if you decide not to carry Spider-Man, then they're going to punish you with Modern Horizons 4 or whatever, right? Like, whatever the good set is, they're not going to allocate you as much because you didn't buy enough Spider-Man. So all LGSs need to buy the garbage anyway, if they could predict what the garbage is, right? Because
Yeah.
that's how it works, right? Like if you don't buy enough of this set, we won't give you, we'll cut your Final Fantasy allocation in half. Now what? Right? So in order to avoid that, you're going to scoop up the garbage anyway, like at some reasonable pace. So that's one thing. So even a flopper of a set does not really hamstring Wizards unless it's consistent, right? Like after like 5 years, they keep pooping out garbage sets. It's a problem. But if it's just one Spider-Man amongst 4 Final Fantasies, no problem. You're gonna sell just as much Spider-Man because everyone needs to buy it to get the Final Fantasy.
The sets that sell a ton,
But
yeah.
The other option is like, what if they printed 3x the amount of Spider-Man as Final Fantasy, and they sold as much Final Fantasy as Spider-Man, and then the rest is just sitting in bulk shelves everywhere now. Like, that is also an option, which we don't know if it's true or not, or I don't know. Maybe we can figure that out, right? Because stores would ask for more, and then, for Final Fantasy, everyone would say no, and then for Spider-Man, people are like, "Yeah, take more Spider-Man,"
Please,
right? Keep
please,
getting more
yes.
Spider-Man, right? But, Wizards could have just overprinted Spider-Man. It's probably unlikely that they printed, like, 3x Spider-Man as Final Fantasy, but it is an option, right? Like, if they just
Yeah,
printed enough of the product, it would sit on shelves and be there available to purchase. The other
that's
funny thing
true.
is that people look at product on shelves as a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like, what I want is to want Final Fantasy, go into Target and have no stock at all times. Like, no, right? I want it available on the shelves. So having Spider-Man on the shelves is not necessarily bad, right? Like, you kind of want some amount of product sitting on shelves
And
for you to buy, right? Like, you do not actually want the Final Fantasy situation, right? So I don't know. I feel like, again, the Universes Beyond haters are like taking this and like twisting it, but I don't know what the actual fact is, but it could be either or, right? Like, Avatar, which will be more neutral. If it sits on shelves, is it a flop? Maybe they actually just printed enough Avatar, like a normal Magic the Gathering set, so that you could actually saunter into Target at a random time and buy it, right? Like, that's
yeah, it
the goal, is it not? So
and
it's not clear to me where we are, right? And I don't know that we will ever know, but it may not necessarily be a giant flop, but it may not necessarily be a giant success either, and it's kind of unknown, and only Wizards really
we're
knows, because people will, well, actually, I guess distributors would know. Wizards doesn't know, right? Distributors would know, or your LGS would kind of know. But I don't know. Not sure, Seth.
it's funny too because even like the other piece of evidence, right, is the box prices dropping so much. But even that for players is a good thing, right? Like we would rather have collector boxes be $400 than $800. So that's not even like it's a sign that it's not selling like Final Fantasy did, where the boxes are still $1,200, or that could, as you said, be related to the supply. If there's way more supply, maybe they just haven't moved through the supply, and that would also make prices drop. So I think it is funny that like in a lot of ways, being able to walk into a store and just buy a box if you want one and paying less for a box is all good things. But it still does make me wonder just like how well Spider-Man is actually doing, because it definitely is not doing what we saw with Final Fantasy, that's for sure.
Oh, you gotta look at Avatar. How well is Avatar doing? So everyone's darling child, right? Because like, everyone, the online community does not like Spider-Man, right? So then everything kind of is looked through as through a negative lens. But Avatar, people seem to like, but so far, at least through our initial data, is looking kind of sus, right?
That's
Like, it's not
yeah.
looking,
The
it's definitely not Final Fantasy, right? But it's not like
mm,
looking great either. So I'm curious where this shakes up. Collector prices went from like $1,000 at the height of the Final Fantasy mania down to like what, like 500 now, something
yeah,
around there,
520
right?
something, yep.
And and then when you crack the boxes, you got even less
Oh
value
god. Oh,
out
oh,
of
I
it,
got
right?
wrecked.
So
It's
so
it's so
I don't know, right? Like, here's where the narrative matters, right? Like, people might spin it positively because they love Aang and the gang, right? But
yeah,
it
the
may not be
vibes.
any different than Spider-Man or whatever, right? Or maybe, again, they could have just printed enough product so that, it's already outsold Final Fantasy, but now you can actually get your hands on it. So the prices will
And
look lower and the stock will be in there, but they've hit their sales targets, or maybe not. Unknown.
And the other important part of this whole conversation that people should realize is like, it doesn't benefit Wizards to have a box selling for $900 or $1,000 because they're selling it to the distributor for the same price. So if anything, Wizards would prefer to print enough product that box prices are not $1,000 for a collector booster box, because that's showing that they underprinted, right? And they're leaving money on the table. If they had printed more, they would be able to sell that and they would or make more money from it. So that's definitely not Wizards' goal. Do you think we're through the The Final Fantasy bubble then? Like, are you concerned at all about next year's sets, especially with collector boxes? Like, because we saw Final Fantasy jump up to 1,200, then Spider-Man Avatar did the same thing, then Spider-Man Avatar, they're back down to almost MSRP, below MSRP in some cases. Are you worried at all about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or the new Marvel set? Are we going to
Oh,
see
no.
$1,000 boxes and then they end up crashing? Or, like, do you think people have learned that, like, the collector booster boxes should not go up that high for most sets?
I don't think we've learned anything. And according to Hasbro's CEO, we're getting another Final Fantasy next year. So
Uh,
I,
yeah.
I think I don't know. It's just a bubble, right? Once it looks like the price is gonna stay, then people will pile on. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But once the prices start faltering, then people will like jump ship and it'll crash down. Like Avatar, right? Like it jumped up to 1,000, right? And then Spider-Man happened, right? And then the set actually released. We saw the cards, and now it's all coming down. And then when it starts going down, people are like, ooh, we gotta get out of here, right? But if it started climbing, I bet you it would keep going up. Right? Like, I mean, we saw with Final Fantasy, right? Like, we were like, oh my God, $800 a box. Who would do this, right? Should have bought in,
I mean
right? Should have bought in at that point, but we did it, right?
I mean,
So I
you
don't.
can see that super clearly on this Spider-Man like box price chart where like boxes were $900 and then they dropped pretty quickly at one point down to like 530 and the TCG sold over 1,000 boxes once they dropped down, which was many times more than they were selling before. So there is a price point where once the boxes drop low enough that you know people are going to jump in and start buying them. It turns out that the people that jumped in and start buying for 630 or whatever, 530, still kind of got it wrong because now they're down to 400, so they got in a little bit too early on that one. But there is like a price point where people will start buying, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Not finance of right sets, but maybe when Spider-Man hits 300 a box,
oh,
we should be
that's
stocking
a
up on them.
yeah.
Because when the next Marvel set comes out, we'll be like, oh no, I
uh,
need my Spider-Man collector boosters, right? Like
that's the other question that I'm curious since we're talking about finance here. What do you think about these boxes long term? Because that's I've been talking to people about this on social media and stuff, and that's one of the arguments I hear from people is, yeah, boxes prices are dropping now, but it's not about now. It's about 5 years from now, and you should be buying Spider-Man boxes for $400 because in 5 years that box is going to be $1,000. It's going to be $2,000 because there never will be more of them. Do you think that's true? Like, do you buy that for Avatar, for Spider-Man? Like, should we expect long term those boxes to be worth 2, 3 times what they are now?
So I saw a Reddit post. I didn't do the math, right? But the post was like, assuming you get the Infinity Stone at 1%, right? And the Infinity Stone sells, I forgot what it sells for, like 20K, 10K or something like that. If you snap up like X number of Spider-Man boxes, like some obscene number, you have a 65% chance of pulling an Infinity Stone, right?
Ooh,
And that's the math people are doing with Final Fantasy, right? Because Final Fantasy has the golden chocobos, and people even like catalog which ones have been publicly found. And same with the One Ring, right? Like when this card still exists, there is a price at which you just buy enough of this, and like you're guaranteed one, right? And then it makes it profitable. And, granted, the math didn't even include the bulk, right? It was just literally you get
just
the
for
soul
that
stone,
one
you sell
card.
the soul stone, and you profit, right? No taxes, no bulk, whatever. But you can see it, there's a price at which this becomes reasonable. So
Yeah,
I do think there is because, it's the Infinity Stone is there, right? Um, that's all I have to say. Other than that, they don't have surge foils and no serialized cards. And I think Wizards is going to figure this out. I think we're going to get them for every set going forward because without the serialized chocobos, I feel Final Fantasy boxes don't hold up in the same way. And again, with Avatar, we didn't have any of that,
yeah.
right? So the next set with serialized cards of like favorite characters, uh,
I'm
will go wild, I think.
I'm actually surprised they moved away from that, honestly. I expected, especially with UB sets, to always have some sort of serialized card. I know they do the headliner thing, but that seems like it's a little hit or miss depending on the set. Some do better than others. But I totally agree the biggest thing missing from Avatar and Spider-Man as far as box openings is something similar to the Surge foils. Doesn't even have to be Surge, but some special foiling that just gives you that extra level there of value. And that's what we've been missing, and that's why I think whenever I open the boxes, I just get super wrecked the last few sets. And so for people be coming up and they're like, oh, thank you for doing this service and like letting me know how bad these boxes are. I'm like, no, dude, I don't want to be opening bad boxes. I would rather be opening the good ones. Like, believe me, like I'm not trying to do you a service here. I'm trying to open some value. But...
So you actually open the serialized card and then you make a cut and throw it away. We don't want to. We don't want to give good.
Yeah,
we're doing a service to buy singles.
Anyway, let's keep moving on. I don't know if you saw this. They're doing a promo now where you can play Paper Magic and get rewards on Magic Arena if you go to a local game store and you sign up through the Wizards Play Network companion app and play in an event. They will advance you 3 daily wins on Magic Arena. And there's a weekly win bonus that it tracks. So, Richard, what do you think of this integration between Arena and Paper Magic? At least it's not 2000 XP. It
why
should be
even
2000
put
XP.
the effort into this? Like, why even dedicate any resources to doing this promotion if this is what you're gonna do? Like, I think I'd rather take Battle Pass XP, Seth. I think you know,
2000
like,
XP. It is.
What does this even tell? This tells me that like digital and paper are not on talking terms or something. Like you're like, fine, we'll do a collaboration if you force us to, right? Like, oh, what a terrible promotion. It could have been literally anything else, Seth. It could have been just be like, I played Paper Standard this week sleeve, you know, I would go for it.
Yes. Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like, it could be literally anything. You're telling me you're giving me something I get for free?
Yeah.
Anyway, you're telling me you're giving me reasons to not even play the game? Right? People log in, do their 5 wins, and go out. Now I only gotta do 2 because I played F&M. Like, what? What is this?
The idea is good, right? I'm glad that they're thinking about more of this integration between Paper and Arena. So I like that part, but the reward is like hilariously like like just kind of laughably bad. But it would be easy to fix, right? Like you said, like give away a unique sleeve from going to your LGS. You could do it with like promo like card styles. Like have a cool card style that you don't even got to give people a card. Just give them a cool card style if they go and play at their LGS. Like there's so many things that would be better than
remember when we got textless
daily
lightning
wins.
bolts? You know,
Yes.
Remember when there was like real rewards for participating in the
Texas
gathering?
Cryptic,
Like,
just send them to you.
it would cost them nothing to give you a special card style, right? Or a special emote, or like literally like it would cost them like basically nothing, right? But I don't know why they don't do it.
Yeah, I don't know how they thought this was gonna go over because mostly people have just memed on it for the most part.
I love my LGS card sleeve. That's it.
Yeah,
you know?
that's all you need.
That's it. That's all you need. Like, look, I play Paper Standard. Look at me. I'm cool.
So Richard, one last topic I want to ask you about before we get to some fish mail. So I always do the weekly finance update every week. So I'm looking through card prices and I keep seeing these random old cards increasing in price. And the weirdest part of it is it's just one version. So Zombie Infestation from Odyssey, all of a sudden this uncommon jumps up to $10. All other versions are still 25 cents. Jackal Pup from Tempest jumps up to $4. All the rest are bulk still. Dystopia, this old Ice Age Alliances card, jumps up to $35. I'm like, what is going on? Why are people buying out a specific version of something like Zombie Infestation or Zombie or Jackal Pup? So I started to look into this and I realized this is all coming from the pre-modern format. I don't know if have you heard of pre-modern before? Are you familiar with this format?
I've heard of it, but I don't
Ish.
actually know what it is. What is pre-modern? What's the time cutoff of pre-modern?
So pre-modern is cards from 1995 to 2003. So up until when modern started, but excluding like the first couple of years, alpha beta like years. And it's only cards that were during that time period legal in standard and have the old borders. So promo cards, no Nalathani Dragon or whatever. So it's essentially that 8-year period of Magic from 1995 1995 up until Mirrodin when Modern started. And apparently this format's really starting to take off. They're having tournaments for it. It's really popular over in Europe right now. And like I said, what made me notice it was it's moving card prices. We're seeing card prices increase a ton because people are buying them to put in decks in the format. So I'm curious what you think. Does this format appeal to you at all? Like, could pre-modern be the next big thing? Or is this just like a reaction to people being upset about Universes Beyond, and they're like, well, I'll show you. I'm going to play my real Magic with 1997 cards, and you can't stop me. I don't have to deal with Dwight from The Office.
Wait. So you can't even play newer printings of the old cards. You
No.
have to play
It's got to be
a
that
printing.
kind of like Old School had that rule where you have to play the old printing. So yeah, it has to be the old printings.
It's a finance bro. It's a finance bro format, Seth.
Yeah, it does seem a little bit like
It has okay. So if the decks cost $10, I'm all for it, right? But my guess is the decks do not cost $10. That they're actually quite expensive, and if it's anything beyond casual, it'll fall apart. Like, I imagine we could take some pre-modern decks and play for a couple hours or a couple days and be like very, very entertained, right? But when we start getting sweaty and like looking at it and like, solving the meta, right? I think it's going to start falling apart really, really fast. And then when you throw in, crazy price spikes and things like that, I don't think it's going to last. So I think as a casual format, there's a point. As a non-casual format, I don't get it. Like, even if the format is somehow balanced, like, you're just never getting a new card ever again, right? So you're just literally gonna play the same thing over and over and over again. So there's like that. So I don't know. I feel like someone's just sitting on like a bunch of bulk that they need to move between
Yeah.
1995 and 2001. Remember 93, 94? Like, it's still going on, right? But like it never caught up. It's never mainstream. It's like too expensive for most people to get into. And if it was really about the love of the game, then I should be able to use my new versions of those cards
Yeah.
and play them, right?
Yeah, those rules are always kind of weird where you have like the aesthetic thing, like why can't I play the 25-cent version? Why do I have to get the $10 version? So the price thing is kind of an issue. It's funny that you mentioned it being a casual format because I was reading the pre-modern website, which is just premodernmagic.com, but it was actually created way back in 2012, so it's been going on for a while. It's just now starting to become more of a conversation. But it was from someone that did play Old School and then decided to make this format, and it was designed to be a casual format. The idea is it should be a place where you can play iconic and fun cards that don't see play in other places. So that's kind of the goal, is to have it be more of a casual format where you just like play with your friends or whatever, which I think it serves that purpose really well. I don't know how it's going to go catching on up on the tournament scene. Like, that would be my concern, is that it's probably breakable. And then since no new cards ever enter the format, once it is broken, then it's kind of broken forever, right? Like, it's not like you can print something else that's going to be the hate card to stop the tier 0 deck if you ever get to that point. So I don't know if it could ever catch on as like a big, like huge format, but just looking through some of the deck lists, I do kind of want to try it now. Like, I'm kind of interested enough to like play a game or two, because it does seem like it's just got like a lot of cool old cards that you don't see in other places, stuff that you would never expect even to find in a commander deck these days. So I can see like the appeal of it a little bit. I don't know. Would you ever try it just for fun?
It's the perfect digital format where you don't have to bother getting the cards. Like, if you just had like the whole collection, I imagine it'd be very fun to play, matches of some of these old decks and play them
Yeah.
against each other. But just buying the cards and getting the cards, and like, especially if it's competitive and best deck and format is found, you can guarantee like the prices of those cards are going to go through the roof, right? So I think logistically there's a bunch of issues. So I think it's one of those things. It's like, originally a group of friends probably just had their old collections or whatever. And like, yeah, let's go play this format. And like, yeah, it was so cool, right? But once it starts getting too big and too mainstream, it like loses its appeal.
Yeah. Tiny
So
leaders.
I don't know. It's like imagine Judge's Tower, but we just played it every day for 8 hours and like nonstop forever. And we
It would.
actually like thought about it. Like, it would get old pretty quick.
Yeah.
But as a once a year event at MagicCon, it's the greatest
Oh,
experience
it's so
you've
much
ever
fun.
had,
Yeah,
right?
it's so
So
good.
that's the difference between casual and like non-casual, right? Like Avatar, amazing set during pre-release. What it's gonna be afterwards, no idea. Just like we loved Final Fantasy Standard for that first week,
Oh, that
right?
first
Before
week was so
Vivi was
good.
found out, right? So when things are casual, they're super fun. So the question is, will it translate? But I feel the financial barriers are going to prevent this format from really taking off.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
So maybe it's an online only format. I don't know.
yeah, I wish it was officially supported in Magic Online. That would be cool because that's always like the one thing that keeps me from trying formats like that more on Moto is just like, oh, you gotta like go to a Discord and find someone to play a match against. And I'm like, oh, it's just so much hassle compared to just clicking a button. So it would be cool if they could actually add it to Moto as an event. Then I would definitely give it a shot. So
What's
anyway,
the best deck in pre-modern? Do you know?
oh,
Like what is a deck? How about that? Give me a single
what
deck name
is
that I would recognize for pre-modern.
okay? So at the first one that I thought of, I would call this. Oh man, it makes me think of Dead Guy Ale. I don't know if it actually is Dead Guy Ale, but it's like I guess they call it Dead Guy Ale, so I guess they are calling it Dead Guy Ale. But it's like Gerard's Verdict, the other like Hymn to Turok, along with like Nantucko Shade. You get Dark Ritual, Hypnotic Spectre to speed things up, Unearth, Diabolic Edict, Swords to Plowshares. There's like Counter Rebels, Blue White Control, 4-color control. So it's stuff
It's
that
proper
would
boomer magic, huh?
oh, it's straight up
Getting reset.
elves. There's some elves in there, yeah, some storm, but it is straight up boomer magic. But I don't know, it looks appealing. If you've ever played this format, let me know in the comments because I'm actually considering. I mean, not making it one of my main formats, but I kind of want to try it. So let me know if it's actually fun and worth
We
playing
should we
because
should just switch strictly to casual Magic, Seth. We only play just made up formats.
yeah, I think that might be the way
It's
forward.
so
I
much
mean,
fun. You just
look at
you just don't stay long enough to like make it bad, right? And then like next week we can play like I don't know, the first 5 years of Modern or something,
yeah, yeah,
right? Then we can play like
just
old
keep.
school Legacy or something. You know, like you can
Oh,
keep playing these like fake formats and it'll be great, right?
man, if you actually just rotated through one every like few months or something, you probably could play Magic forever like that. Just going from these weird fringe formats, and it would be super fun the whole time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
that.
can mix in like 1 week of Avatar Standard in
Yeah, yeah, and
there,
then once
right?
Phoebe
1 week
shows
of
up, you
Draft,
just
1 week
yeah,
of Pre-Modern, 1 week of Pauper. Maybe that's the way. You just need infinite money so that you
yeah.
have access to all the cards, and then you can do it.
Anyway, it's time for a fish mail question, and this one it's for you, Richard. This one comes from at Dan Cressman, and we might have talked about this a little bit during the cast, but they need to know the answer. It says, at MTG Goldfish, I know you're going to be busy with spoilers, but please put my mind to rest. Is Richard still watching Avatar in Japanese for some reason? Did you watch Avatar in Japanese? Were you watching it with like Japanese
No, I watch it in
dub or
English.
something? Okay, I didn't even know
I
there was
watch
a
it
Japanese. I don't know why people think you were watching it in Japanese. I don't even know if there's a
I
Japanese
mean,
version.
okay. I am a Japanese purist, but I just watched it. So I watched it in English at 1.5 speed, the maximum speed they allowed me on Netflix mobile. And I powered through the whole thing. And I contemplated watching Legend of Korra.
Oh,
But then I'm like, it's like 3 or 4 seasons. And, I'm like, and then someone like I read like one line in a Reddit thread on the Magic subreddit, and it already ruined like the premise of Legend of Korra for me. So I'm like, oh, I don't even know I should watch this. But I wish someone so with One Piece, someone like and Naruto, like these really long shonen anime, someone took the whole series and cut out all the fillers and like just made like the bare bone minimum or like
yeah,
true to the manga type thing. I feel Avatar could have used some of that, even though the slower parts were not necessarily filler. It was more like character building. If if they could do that for Legend of Korra too, I think
yeah.
I would watch because I'm gonna assume it has the same pacing issues, but I don't know. I told
I
Seth like it only picks up after Toph arrives, which is like at least 1.5 seasons, and then even then, toward that from that point to the end, there were stretches where it kind of just like went off course, like the beach episode. Even though there's like I understand the point of it, but it
yeah,
was like just very slow, right? And
yeah,
then it tied up, and I'm like there's so many loose ends. So I'm like, I didn't even tie up nicely. I'm not happy with the way it tied up, but I'm like, it's still solid. It's still
yeah.
solid. I can appreciate my magic cards now, so I enjoy that.
It definitely has been a weird experience for me to actually have a a Universes Beyond set where I know the IP. I've never experienced that before. This is the first time I'm like, oh, I kind of know what's going on now. Did you think what? So I know like you were kind of sus after the first season, but everyone's like, okay, you gotta wait till season 2. It gets way better. Did you feel like that was true? Now that you've watched the whole thing, like, because you know there's gonna be someone that's gonna be like, oh, there's
Yes.
this set. I'm gonna try the show. Would you encourage them stick it out, get till the middle of season 2, and there's the payoff's worth it?
There's got to be some YouTube video that summarizes season 1 in like
Yeah,
20 minutes.
yeah, that's what you need. Yeah,
Like it doesn't really pick up till Toph gets there, and even then, like I don't know, man. The Toph storyline didn't even end anywhere. I'm like, I don't know what's going on, right? Like, so I don't know. I feel just watch some like 1 hour TLDR in Avatar.
yeah, that's good enough.
Do you,
Yeah,
like I don't know. Did you enjoy it, Seth? I know
I
you were glad to have watched it. Would you have watched it if we did not have a Magic the Gathering crossover?
ooh, seems unlikely. I'm glad I did
Or would you
watch
recommend
it.
it to someone? Like if you met someone, at a
Is that
function and you're like, yeah, you should watch Avatar. It's great. Would you do something like that? I feel I would not recommend
Is
it
that
out of the blue.
person under 10 years old? Is it a child? Because then, yeah, I would definitely recommend it to children that I that I know. I don't know if I would recommend it
It was
to
too
another
adult for
adult.
children though. There was so much
But
kissing and dating and
it's
relationship
such
stuff. It
a
was like it's this weird thing where it was not really for children, but it was
but then
kind
it's
of for
also
children.
like not really for adults, but kind of for adults. Because then I know we were talking
Yeah.
about it before. Like you get to the fighting, and it's like, why doesn't anyone die? Like there's still like I think I think one character dies in the entire like actually dies in the show, but there's like these big battles and wars, and people
Wait,
like
Jet died? When did he die? Are we spoiling everything? He didn't die.
hopefully it's
Did he
okay.
die?
Didn't he die? Then wasn't he killed by the Fire
Maybe.
Lord? I thought he actually like straight up died, but
Oh,
he was the
oh, you're
one.
right, but they
He
didn't
was
show
the
it. They didn't
yeah, he
show
was
it.
the one that I think actually died. But yeah, it was weird to have these big battles. So it's kind of this weird like sometimes I think, oh, if they had only made this for adults, it would be really good. But then apparently they made like real person Netflix show and an M. Night Shyamalan movie, and those both suck apparently. So maybe making it for adults doesn't actually make it better. But yeah, it's like not kid enough to be kid, but not adult enough to be fully adult. But I'm glad I watched it. But no, would I recommend it? I don't know if I would just recommend it to a random person, honestly. Maybe a Magic, like in the context of Magic and a Magic set, yes. But someone who's not like into Magic or in that world, I don't think that would be the first show that I'd recommend.
I think all Magic players should watch it. How about that?
Yes.
If you play
And
Magic and you play Magic Avatar, then it's worth the watch. But if you don't, then it's like whatever.
and it's
It's
definitely
like okay, but like there's probably much better anime you could watch or much better TV shows if you just had free time. But given that, if you're like a drafter or something, you're gonna play with these cards a lot, I think it's worth the watch.
it's definitely convinced me that I should try to make it a point to watch at least some of future Universes Beyond sets too, which I
We
don't know what I'm
watched
gonna
all
do
of them, Seth. We watched Doctor Who.
Yeah,
We
that's
watched Final
true.
Fantasy. You
I
played Final Fantasy.
I've never given the other ones like this much of a shot though. I actually watched all 3 seasons of Avatar. With Doctor Who, we watched like a few episodes. We played Final Fantasy for an hour, but I think maybe I gotta give it even more of a shot with some of the future ones. So
All right, Star Trek watch-a-thon coming.
oh
What's the
no.
next
Oh
UB?
no.
No, Turtles. Wait, you didn't even
Turtles.
watch Turtles. Oh
I
my
don't think
goodness.
I don't think I gotta watch anything. I think I know the Turtles well enough just by existing in the 90s. So anyway, I think that's our podcast for today. Richard, how do people send in fish mail for future episodes?
All right, hit us up at MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air.
And that brings us to the end of episode 562 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. So, Richard, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to our sponsors for supporting the show. And we'll be back next week to talk about whatever goes on in the world of Magic. So, until then, have an amazing week, everyone. And this is the crew signing out.